Namaste and greetings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I'm Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, the founder. What is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is metaphysical spirituality? What is New Thought? Science of Mind and Spirit? How do I become a member? How can I support, tithe, and donate? All of these questions and so many more. Send an email. You have two options. SIAADMIN, Spiritually Integrated Arts, admin at spirituallyintegratederarts.org, or spirituallyintegratederarts@gmail.com. Either of those will work. You can also visit our website, www.spirituallyintegratederarts.org. Now, you may be wondering, where else can I find and follow? There are several other social media platforms that you can also subscribe and follow. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel, where you can also find all of our Sunday messages and more. I look forward to hearing from you soon. I look forward to you being a part of this beloved community. Because we are a virtual community, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. This can also be your spiritual community, because you can have more than one. Anywhere that you feel supported, anywhere you are spiritually fed is home, is community, is relationship. So I look forward to dialoguing more, conversing more, getting to know you. Much love and appreciation. Live long and prosper. Chat with you soon. Take care. Namaste and greetings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. This July, we will be meeting the 2nd, which hopefully you were there, the 9th, which is today, and next week. If you do not already have the Zoom link to join us at the After Sunday Message Fellowship, then I strongly encourage you to send an email to either of the email addresses that you see listed on your screen. I also highly recommend that you save these email addresses, because they will be one of your main ways of connecting and contacting and seeking information, etc., regarding many of the things we do, such as classes. Speaking of classes, did you know that here at the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, we currently are doing 2 weekly gatherings, which you're going to see on the slide coming up. But you may not know that because you may not already follow us on social media. You may not know that because you may not visit the website. So this is your opportunity to also jot down, screen capture, grab your phone, get the website, and also the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Now, it's very important that regarding the YouTube channel, because all of the Sunday messages are found there. Many of the other things that we are going to be doing will be found there. So make sure that you like, follow, subscribe, and share all of this. Now, regarding the QR codes that you see, the one on the left, Givelify, if that is your preferred method of tithing and donating. The one on the right, PayPal, if that is your preferred method. If neither of these work for you, then I strongly recommend and suggest and invite you to send an email right to either of those two email addresses that I mentioned before. Now, when you are following and have subscribed and all of that, you will be kept up to date about such things as the Wednesday night Science of Mind and Spirit discussion group facilitated by me from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we discuss what is science of mind and spirit. When Ernest Holmes said, "Show me 1,000 people who know what religious science is, who practice it, and who live it as a way of life, and I will live to see the world change. I will live to see a world that works for all," in essence. And we discuss all of that. What does that mean? What is the impact of studying science of mind and spirit with what's going on in the world collectively and what's going in our individual lives as well? And on Thursday night, Tracy facilitates the study group that discusses the questions that my Sunday message always ends with. Now, if you don't already know, there's a new time as of July 6th. So this past Thursday, the new time began 7 to 8:30, same as my time on Wednesday. It's easy to remember, Eastern Standard Time. If you have questions or want to know more about like what do these groups do, how do I get the Zoom link, etc., send an email to either of those email addresses that I mentioned previously. Now, week number 2, we are talking about this Got Me Hypnotized. Wait. So what's that got to do with anything? Well, songwriter Bob Welch, while he was with the group Fleetwood Mac, he wrote a song called Hypnotized. The last verse closes with, "Now you know it's a meaningless question to ask if those stories are right, because what matters most is the feeling you get when you're hypnotized." Don Miguel Ruiz refers to this idea of being hypnotized as domestication, when we become domesticated or indoctrinated into all of the collective consciousness related paradigms and beliefs. Within New Thought, we refer to it as the collective unconsciousness. It is the collective agreed upon experiences, beliefs, paradigms, etc., in which we are all so intimately and deeply enmeshed and immersed in that we don't even know that in many ways it is a self-inflicted construct. All around us, we are being called to wake up, to take the red pill, Matrix reference. So let us, if we are willing, to say yes, even if we would rather remain comfortably hypnotized. Say that again. Even if we would prefer to remain comfortably hypnotized in the quote unquote dream, because in that space, it feels good, which is one reason why many people choose not to wake up. So we breathe and we understand, as John Lennon said, living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see. Breathe. Because for the duration of this Sunday message, we will be pushing the envelope so that we wake up and realizing that waking up is not a one-time thing. It is a waking up day by day, moment by moment, right? You were born, you took one nap, and you woke up. Did you stay awake from that until, the next 67 years? No, you went back to sleep and you woke up the next morning, and you went back to sleep and you woke up the next morning. Well, it's the same thing. This spiritual awakening is a moment by moment, breath by breath, thought by thought choice. Mayor Baba says it's characteristic of the ego that it takes all that is unimportant as important, and all that is important as unimportant? Priorities. What are the things that are truly important? And how do we prioritize things like self-care? How do we prioritize things like our spiritual practices, compassionate listening, empathy, connecting with one another? How do we prioritize? Because the ego, which serves a purpose, we do not try to kill the ego or eradicate the ego. We try to retrain the ego so that it is working for us as an ally, as a tool, rather than as an opponent or a confrontationary psychological triggering impulse, right? So the ego's purpose is protection. So anything that it thinks is a threat, the ego kicks in. Typically, that's the general idea. So we are being invited to steward by prioritizing, which means we have to take the time to sort. In the same way that if you watch any of the hoarding reality TV shows, one of the things they do when the person is really, really attached to their stuff, they lay it all out and they ask the person, prioritize what is really, really of value that enhances in a life affirming way, enhances and brings joy to your life, and then prioritize. Okay, so what does that? Maybe a little less. What does that? Even less. What does that? Even less. So you get to the other end of it, that really doesn't do it at all, but you're still holding on to it. So we are invited. What beliefs? What relationships? What paradigms? What habits can we prioritize and identify what is truly important and what is not important, but we might think that it is because of how we've been domesticated? Now, if you recall, I made reference to the matrix by referencing the red pill. So this whole idea of the matrix was a system of breathe. A method of hypnotizing all of the people so that the system could absorb their energy. But in order to do so effectively, the people had to be hypnotized. They had to be deeply invested in the dream that the system was pumping into their consciousness. And then at such a point, certain people woke up. And then we're going to get in a moment when Morpheus offers Neo the opportunity to wake up. So let's pause for a moment and ask ourselves, in what way are we connected to a system? And the system could be any number of things. If we think about, let's go way back, it hasn't really been that long ago though, way back to the system of slavery. The plantation owners, the slave masters, created a system in some ways to placate the slaves, keep them to a certain degree, because I got to keep them alive. I mean, they're my property. I got to take care of them to a certain degree. But ultimately, what I'm doing is draining them as a workforce. I am using their bodies to get more money, more power. Well, that system that created that, now what it created, slavery as an entity, that doesn't exist in the same way anymore. But because the consciousness that created it still exists, slavery still shows up. It's just with a different name. Think about the number of multi-billionaires that now 1% who are still fighting legislation to raise minimum wage. And yet, if they didn't have these workers in their factories, in their stores, in their restaurants, in their whatever, they wouldn't be billionaires. Many of them, some of them were born into money, but many of them wouldn't be able to sustain their wealth were it not for the workforce that they themselves do not want to support financially. Not all of them, many of them. So it's still slavery. So the consciousness that needs to keep people hypnotized is still in existence. Mark Nepo says, as a frightened man in a burning boat has only one way to the rest of his life, we must move with courage through the wall of flame into the greater sea. It takes courage to be emancipated. It takes courage to be free. It takes courage to deconstruct an old belief and paradigm and system of consciousness in order to step into a completely new, liberating one. And oftentimes it is going to feel like this frightened man on a burning boat. We must charge into the flame to come out the other side into the greater expansive sea. Are we willing to do that? Because if we are, then yes, we are being offered the opportunity to wake up. We are being offered the opportunity. So which pill is which? The red pill, we get to awaken to the truth of our being, the truth of existence, the truth of consciousness. Or we take the blue pill and we remain hypnotized in that consciousness of ignorance is bliss, which it isn't, but we have convinced ourselves that it is. But the choice is ours. Which do we choose? To wake up, to be uncomfortable, or to be comfortable and yet deeply immersed in the sea of ignorance, deeply immersed in the what is unimportant we have made important, money. What is unimportant we have made important, racism, bigotry. What is unimportant, clout, status, the number of likes you get on social media. What's unimportant we have made important, and what is truly important, connection, love, compassion, relationship, we have made unimportant. That's what the blue pill does. So each of us, every day, we are offered the choice. What are we going to do? Dr. Holmes says in the Science of Mind textbook, intuitively, we sense that every person in their native state, their natural state, is some part or manifestation, incarnation of the eternal principle. And that the entire problem, think blue pill, and that the entire problem of limitation, of evil, of suffering, of uncertainty is the result of ignorance. The blue pill. It's a result of ignorance. Breathe. Because if we want to shift out of, then as Dr. Holmes also says, ignorance stays with us until the day of enlightenment. The consciousness of the blue pill stays with us until we take the red pill. So if we want to rewind, if we want to have an answer or eradicate the problem of limitation, evil, suffering, and uncertainty, then moving through, transcending through ignorance and awakening to enlightenment is the answer. If we are willing to do that work. Breathe. Now, in the story of The Matrix, there is a part where, if you've seen the movie, if you haven't, come on now, I'm going to give a homework assignment, where Neo is going to see the Oracle, and while in the waiting room, he has a conversation with this young man. And the young man reminds Neo, because the young man is in the process of bending the spoon, and he's explaining to Neo, because Neo is like, Neo's trying to bend the spoon. And the young man says, do not try to bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth. There is no spoon. Then you'll see that it is not the spoon that bends, but it is yourself. It is your consciousness. You bend. So do not try to bend conditions. That is impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth that conditions must have cause. And then you will see that it is not the condition that is being changed, but the cause that is being changed. And when the cause changes, the effect must change. The cause, your consciousness. The cause, the eternal principle. The cause is what changes. And then the law says yes. And then the condition, the effect, the spoon must bend. Let it sink in. Because as I said before, the invitation is to really do the work so that we are able to completely change the manner in which we are living our lives, the way that we are showing up in the world. And we can't truly show up to our, for real, highest and best while still operating in a paradigm of lack, scarcity, limitation, worry, egoic fears, and egoic greed. Breathe. Thich Nhat Hanh says, deep listening, compassionate listening, is not listening with the purpose of analyzing or even uncovering what has happened in the past. You listen first of all, in order to give the other person a feeling of relief, the opportunity to speak out, to feel that someone finally understands them. Deep listening is the kind of listening that helps us to keep compassion alive while the other speaks. During this time, you have in mind only one idea, one desire: to listen in order to give the other person the chance to speak out and to suffer less. This is your only purpose. Now, other things like analyzing and understanding the past can be a byproduct of this work, but it is not the first and foremost thing that we are here to do. First and foremost, we are here to listen with compassion, to be compassion. Tracy just shared with me on, what was it, Tracy? CBS Good Morning with Gail King, and I can't think of the other two guys' names. And there was a gentleman in California who asked thousands and thousands of people, what is compassion? And not too long ago, he was brutally murdered. And so they built a bench where he would stand and often sit. They built a special bench and decorated it, and I'll put it up on social media in case you want to see it. But what is compassion? Love in action. Compassion is the manner in which you take care of people. Compassion is the manner in which you nurture people. Compassion is the manner in which you listen, the manner in which you are with, the manner in which you feel with people, animals, the environment, God. Compassion is a verb, and it is the manner in which we take care of one another. So with this idea of compassionate listening, we are invited to be present. When you are in conversation with people, when someone comes to you and they are in need, are you able to be present? Or are you automatically thinking of the next great thing you're going to say? Be present. Simply listen to what is being said. Even if it's a conversation, be present to the listening before it gets to your turn to do the talking. Do not try to fix the other person. Someone comes to you with an an issue regarding a relationship or finances, don't immediately jump to, well, have you tried this and have you called this person and have you applied for this? Don't try to fix it. Give them the opportunity to ask if that's what they want. That they may not even want that. They may simply want you to listen. And in their speaking and you being present, they talk themselves through what they need to do. You're simply there to receive, to lovingly and compassionately receive as they speak, as they speak. If they ask you, do you have any thoughts? Do you have any suggestions? Do you have any advice? Feel free to offer it, but only if they ask. Hold space. Sometimes there's nothing that even is to be said. The person may be in such grief that they can't even communicate what's going on with them. Simply be present with them, walk with them, say no words, sit with them, say no words. Go on a drive with them and say no words. It's absolute silence for the 3-hour drive, but you are holding space. You are what we would often call, you are holding the high watch. Simply being present, which is also, do not try to solve their problems for them. Be in a space of empathy where you can feel what they feel, because you are listening not just with your ears, because, well, what if you're deaf? You don't need to listen with your ears. You don't need to listen with your eyes. You listen with the entirety of your spiritual being. You listen with your emotions. You listen with everything that you are as a divine incarnation of God. Some things you do not even discuss, as I said before. You simply listen. You simply hold space. You simply feel with them. Just listen. Simply listen. Susie Cassim says, we awaken by asking the right questions or more effective questions. We awaken when we see knowledge being spread that goes against our own personal experiences. We awaken when we see a popular opinion being wrong but accepted as right, and what is right being pushed as being wrong. Pause, because if we are honest, we see this happening right now. Roe v. Wade overturned. We awaken when we see knowledge being spread that goes against our own personal experiences, when we see popular opinion being wrong but accepted as being right, and what is right being pushed as wrong. Certain businesses are now allowed to deny LGBTQ folks business because they are able to say it is against my religious beliefs or it is against my whatever it is, so they can deny. Affirmative action for certain higher education entities no longer exists. Diversity and inclusion in many places completely being eradicated. We awaken when we see any number of things where rights are being eliminated and opportunities being eliminated and health and well-being for people being eliminated. And yet, what is on the rise? More hate crimes. What is on the rise? More violence. What is on the rise? More gun shootings. What is on the rise? More corruption. When what is wrong is being accepted as what is right. And what is right is being pushed, being woke. Diversity and inclusion. What is right is being pushed as being wrong. We awaken by seeing answers in corners that are not popular. We awaken by turning on the light inside when everything outside feels dark. Are we ready to take the red pill and awaken to the truth of our being? Because awakening to the truth of our being, that it means that everything that we do, our entire mental equivalent, should be in alignment with the divine principle that is also in alignment with creating a world that works for all. So that means doing the work to shift consciousness so that the person with the consciousness, the belief system of racism, homomesia, etc., that whatever is causing that, they are healed, they are transformed, they are awakened. But we have to do the work within ourselves. Otherwise, as we're going to talk about next week, we get lost down the rabbit hole and we become the abusers. We become the metaphysical masturbators. We become the metaphysical malpracticing metaphysicians. We become the people who are practicing the very thing that we speak out against. Breathe. Because if we're going to really, really, really practice this teaching, then when we see someone suffering, whatever that suffering is, are we not called to service? Are we not called to be a beneficial presence to them? Are we just doing this for our own gratification? So when Neo sees the oracle in the matrix and she points above the doorway, she says, "Do you know what that means?" And it says, "Temetnuske." It's Latin. It means know thyself. I want to tell you a little secret. Being the one is just like being in love. No one needs to explain. No one needs to tell you that you are in love. You just know it through and through. Being the one, being an individualized expression of the divine. No one needs to tell you that. You know it through and through. But you have to be willing to awaken to that knowing, which is why we have classes and it's why we gather for these Sunday discussions, because often we need to be reminded, yes, that's right, I am the one. That's right, I am an individualized expression of source. I am an incarnating expression of the universe. I am love made flesh. I am that I am ever becoming more by being open at the top and open at the bottom. I am. Through and through, you know. Enlightenment, through and through, you know. And once you know, you act accordingly. Dr. Holmes says in the text, Science of Mind and Spirit textbook, the resurrection is the death of the belief that we are separated from God. God did not die. God cannot die. What happened was that people awoke to life. The awakening must be on the part of the people, since God already is life. We, the people, must awaken to that which already is. There is only one life, and that life is God, and that life is perfect, and that life is your life right now. But until you awaken to it, you cannot know it. Until you awaken to it, you cannot embody it, not consciously or actively. So you must consciously awaken, actively awaken, continuously awaken to the truth of your being. That which God is, you are. As Holmes said, what is true about God is true about you. So live it, think it, speak it, feel it, do it. Because the moment we know it through and through, no matter what life throws at us, we know how to address it. No matter what it is, we know how to address it. That does not mean we may not feel frustrated. It does not mean we may not feel angry. It doesn't mean any of that stuff, because when the doctor in December told me that it was prostate cancer, I would be lying to you if I said that I didn't feel let down or disappointed. I would be lying if I said that it's some point between December and when I had surgery in April. I would be lying if I said somewhere in there, fear never showed up. I would be lying. I can't pinpoint when it was, but I know it showed up. But I also know that because of this teaching, I have a spiritual practice that allows me to be able to navigate the dark seas, the night skies, the fog, the mist, the rough waters of life, so that no matter what comes at me, I was recently diagnosed with anemia. What? Okay, so now what? So now they want me to get, I'm not supposed to be due for my second colonoscopy until I'm 62, but I have to do it early now. So I'm getting a colonoscopy and an uh, endoscopy so they can look down the throat and, you get the picture, tubes both ends. So they can see, well, what's going on internally? Is there an ulcer? Is there something going on where there's bleeding and whatever? So life throws, things happen. And I'm not saying life as in there's this anthropomorphic idea of life. I'm saying things within the scope of what life is happens. And when it happens, fires in Canada, when it happens, the overturning of affirmative action and legislating bigotry, when things happen, when we are awake, when we are awakening, when we are practicing, we are far better able to fend off any and all of these things to such a degree that, yeah, they may come at us, but like Neo and Agent Smith, none of Agent Smith's punches connect. None of them land. Neo deflects them with ease. Now, he's still moving, he's still deflecting, but eventually, same as with the bullets, eventually it gets to the point where, like when Morpheus told him, so wait a minute, Neo says, so wait a minute, you're telling me that when I become the one or whatever, I'll be able to dodge bullets? And Morpheus says, no, Neo, what I'm saying is you won't have to. Because by awakening to the truth of your being, it eventually puts us in a position where no matter what comes at us, we understand, we know, we practice, and we live our best lives possible, no matter what, even to the end and the final breath, which yields to, because life doesn't end, which yields into the next iteration of whatever our next incarnation may be. So we do so with confidence and conviction and clarity and compassion. Dr. Holmes says, to practice the presence of God is to awaken within us the Christ consciousness. Now, because the Christ consciousness is very Eurocentric, call it whatever you want to call it. The Buddha consciousness, Atman, Brahma, call it whatever you want to call it. To practice the presence of the divine is to awaken within us the consciousness of the infinite I am, the consciousness of the universe, the consciousness of love, the consciousness of, like, you fill in the blank, whatever works for you. But it's practicing the presence of God. How do you show up as the very presence of God? One of the things I love about the final scene in The Matrix, because right here, Neo puts his glasses on and he looks up. And then the next thing you see is him flying by right there. So our idea is, if you want to go east, do not go west. Neo looked up, and up is where he went. Look to the direction of what you desire to be in life. Look to the direction of the divine. Look to the direction of love. Look to the direction of hope. Look to the direction of healing. Look where you want to go, where you want to be, and then move. So if you want to go east, as Ramakrishna says, you want to go east, don't go west. You want to be loving, then don't hold a grudge. You want to be enlightened, then transcend the ignorance. You want to create a world that works for all, then deconstruct all the paradigms that are currently making a system that works for a few. If you want to go east, do not go west. Reverend Ray says, since the moment we could receive secondhand information, meaning something is being told or given to us, those around us have been consciously and unconsciously indoctrinating us. Don't take candy from strangers. Look both ways before you cross the street. Make sure you put a hat on, because if you go out in the cold, you're going to catch a cold. But that's not how you catch a cold. But okay. And all manner of other things. What is ours to do now is to sort through the baggage, the filters, and the programming to determine what systems need to be upgraded and what systems need to be deleted altogether. Right? Like in the Matrix, Neo learns within the rules of the Matrix, some rules can be bent, others can be broken. But you have to know those rules. You have to understand how the system works. So in this programming, what needs to be upgraded? What needs to be enlightened? And what ignorance needs to be deleted altogether? Breaking the hypnotic trance is not necessarily fun, nor is it easy, but it is necessary to living your highest and best life. Enlightenment happens by choice, not by chance. Breathe. This week's declaration or affirmation, I will say it first, and if you feel in alignment, say it with me on our second go round. I am ever awakening to the truth of spirit that I am. Together. I am ever awakening to the truth of spirit that I am. So it is. This week's journal questions or Thursday night discussion questions. Ready? Number one, what is something where you absolutely knew, or when was a time when you absolutely knew it was real or true, only to find out later that it wasn't? I can think of a couple. Number two, what is a practice that you can use to awaken from the collective hypnosis? In other words, take the red pill. And what is a practice you can use to identify the system, the collective hypnosis? Because once again, you can't change what you will not address. Breathe. Number three, how and where can you apply compassionate listening more often? Number four, what can you do to help yourself see the divinity within the appearance of someone who deeply irritates you? I can think of several Supreme Court justices right now who could deeply use this practice of us. What can I do to help myself see the divinity within the appearance of these individuals who are currently demonstrating a level of corruption that is not benefiting or creating a world that works for all? What is mine to do? Breathe. Number five, and there are others. Now, I'm just using that as an example because it's fresh and recently is happening. Number 5, what can and will you do today to awaken people whom you encounter in order to create a world that works for all? And as a matter of fact, discuss what that even means, a world that works for all. What does that even mean? Breathe. And let us enter into the space of prayer. Simply breathing. Breathing and being present. Being present to the very presence of all that is. In the same way that we are present to our own presence in the present moment. Because we cannot get out of the presence of the divine. No matter where we go, the presence of the universe is, because it is all there is. So consciously awaken to the presence, the divine presence that is incarnating in, through, and as each and every one of us right now, ever present, always. And all that it is, ever present. Love is ever present. Wisdom is ever present. Compassion is ever present. Joy is ever present. Healing is ever present. Transformation and enlightenment is ever present, because all that God is must be present everywhere, every when, in this right here, right now, present moment. It must be. If this teaching is accurate, then it must be. And so I speak this with conviction and with gratitude, knowing that everyone who is present right now is present to their own divinity, is present as that which is the divine, right here and right now. That nothing need be done. Simply awakening, recognizing, knowing through and through, love is here. Joy is here. I am that I am. And in that, I show up. And my presence is a beneficial presence to others. My presence, which is the presence of the divine incarnating as me, is a beneficial presence to others. How I show up helps and heals and transforms, nurtures, reminds others. And so I actively and willingly choose, moment by moment, red pill, wake up, red pill, wake up, enlightenment, wake up and shine. And the law says yes. That means it's already done, right here and right now, already done. And so I stand back and marvel at how the universe demonstrates answered prayer. Not how the universe answers prayer, but how it demonstrates what answered prayer is, right here and right now. And we breathe. And so it is. Namaste, blessings. See you in the Zoom room for our after message fellowship and conversation. And then I'll see you Wednesday, Thursday, and next Sunday. Blessings.